We're back on the Early Edge on CBS Sports Network, and we are continuing with our NFL team-by-team betting profiles. Claudia Bellofatto, PropStarz, joining me right now to talk about the New Orleans Saints. And Claudia, Alex, I got to tell you, I like to start off positive. I like the positive vibes to go. With the Saints, I feel like we have to flip the script a little bit, because when I'm looking at the odds at BetMGM, they are, I think, tied for last place, or I should say the best odds to finish in last place at plus 400. Claudia, I'm going to start with you. Is this team that bad?
They're going to be bad, Sia. Don't get me wrong. I don't think they'll be that bad. When I look at this market, consider last year, right? The fewest wins was 3. A few teams had 3. 2 wins the year before that was the Panthers. I don't see them being bad enough to have one, really, any team. So we're talking 2-3 wins. Then we look at the odds for this market. Is it worth it? Plus 400 means a 20% implied probability. I don't think that's the right number. You have the Browns and the Giants, who have the hardest schedules in the NFL, and they have plenty of holes and questions to fill in. I think the Giants definitely are better off than the Browns this season. Some projections throw the Panthers in this group as well. So I think if we're talking the Saints in particular, yes, they have a lot of questions, but they have the 3rd easiest schedule based on opponent win totals. They have one of the easiest schedules when it comes to opposing offenses specifically. Outside of their divisional games against the Bucks, they only have 2 games against playoff teams from last season. With that said, I don't think they'll have many wins, but I don't think they'll have the fewest.
PropStarz, your thoughts. Again, NFL, we're talking least number of wins, plus 400 for the Saints.
I tend to agree with Claudia. I don't think the Saints will be as bad as some people might suggest. Certainly the quarterback room could leave a lot to be desired, but I think they got the right coach in Kellen Moore, especially if you're developing young quarterbacks. And if he's able to coax some good quarterback play at a Tyler Shell or Spencer Rattler, I think this team is good enough to at least win 5 or 6 football games. I look at the rest of the roster. I still think they have an average defense. They have some good players in the secondary. I love the Justin Reed signing. I thought that was a very shrewd move. One of the more underrated defensive backs in the NFL. So I still think there is a reason for some optimism, certainly an uphill climb. But again, as Claudia mentioned, they have a very soft schedule here. Third softest schedule when you look at the projected win totals of their opponents. So they have some good things going for them. I like them to be a little bit better than expectations.
All right. I'm sorry, but I think they win 4 games or less. And that actually leads us to our next question. New Orleans win total is 4.5. I'll just let the cat out of the bag on the Early Edge Morning Show on the SportsLine YouTube channel this morning. I gave out the under at plus 125, and I really like it. I do agree it's an easy schedule, especially the back end of the schedule. But Claudia and Alex, like the back end of that schedule is when they're only going to have like 1 or 2 wins at that point. They're going to be in experimental zone, probably shooting for the first pick. Alex, what do we think of the 4.5?
I'm not rushing out to bet this either way, but I would lean over here, Sia. I don't think it's that difficult when you break down the schedule. Claudia mentioned this in the first segment. They really just don't play a lot of very good football teams. Only one team that eclipsed 10 wins or 11 wins, last season being the Buffalo. The Rams and the Bucks were the only other double-digit win opponents that this Saints team is going to face. So they certainly benefit from a soft schedule. I just think they're going to be able to win 5 games, especially looking at that division. I'd argue that division is the softest division in the NFL. So I'm not rushing to the betting window or my local kiosk here, but I'm not going to fade them either here. So I lean over on the win total.
Claudia, do you care to convince me on this over a 4.5?
I actually went back and forth on this, and the more I think about it, the under at plus money makes more sense for me. I think it's priced correctly. I don't see more than 5, but I really wouldn't be surprised if they only had 4. And the plus money makes me want to lean that way even more so. The reason I say this is because of all the unknowns, specifically at the crucial positions like quarterback and head coach. Tyler Shuck is an okay quarterback. I don't know how you want to label him. I would say he's an okay quarterback, but he is the oldest of that bunch. Injury history is a concern. Deep ball consistency is a concern. He could be good, but we have to wait and see. Kellen Moore might be an upgrade at head coach. We'll see if that success he had with the Eagles as their OC translates. but he's still a first-year head coach. Now, we have to assume they're going to have better luck when it comes to injuries because they were the most injured team last season. But even guys, when they're healthy, it's one of the weaker rosters. And because of that, even more pressure lies on Tyler Shuck. And look at how they fared with and without Derek Carr last year. You know how many games they won without Carr? 0. They went 0-7. So I'm very curious to see how they do with Tyler Shuck, because if it's not him, who is it? Spencer Rattler and Jay Kaner. For that reason, I just talked myself into it. I'm going to go under.
That's the thing, Claudia. It's like your position groups aren't very good. I mean, they got decent receivers and a decent running back and a decent offensive line, but every other position group is bottom 5 in the league, in my opinion, or at least close to bottom 5. And at the quarterback, the crucial quarterback position, you got Tyler Shuck, Spencer Rattler, and Haener. It doesn't add up to 5 wins to me. So I'm going to take the plus money as well. But Claudia, you did mention something. Now, maybe a culture change. We were just talking about the Las Vegas Raiders and Pete Carroll, the culture change there. I don't know if Kellen Moore is going to change the culture, or maybe just the X and O's are going to be that good. He's not only the head coach, but he's calling the plays too. He's the offensive coordinator. By the way, they got Brandon Staley as their new DC. Your thoughts on Kellen Moore creating a win or two for this team?
Yeah, I think it's a great get. I think Kellen Moore is going to bring a lot of confidence, I think, to this roster. He'll be able to elevate it. But we're talking going from a 5th-year quarterback in Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devontae, Saquon Barkley, one of the top defenses in the NFL, to this Saints roster. So to answer your question, my expectations with Moore are realistic. I think he elevates the offense enough to get to 4 or 5 wins, but nothing more, because a coach can only do so much. I will give him credit for bringing in Brandon Staley as the DC, because we know there's familiarity there with them being a duo in LA. So I think that's good, because really they need all of the help they can get on that side of the ball. They've been slowly unraveling over the last 4 seasons. They went from 2nd in DVOA on defense to bottom 10 over the last 4 years. We saw their wins and losses be a direct reflection of their defensive efforts last year. They went 0-11 when the defense allowed 20 or more points. So I think if Staley can bring out the best in the defense and the offense can stay afloat, Kellen Moore will have done enough to keep his job, but I would temper expectations.
Alex, Kellen Moore is the best quarterback on this roster at 36 years old, just FYI. And I do wonder, what are your expectations for Kellen Moore this year?
I don't think it's a coincidence that Jalen Hurts, Dak Prescott, Justin Herbert had career years with Kellen Moore calling the plays. I really think he's the right hire here for this Saints team. I really believe he reminds me a bit of KOC in Minnesota. I think if they can get some decent quarterback play, I think we'll see a ton of motion offense. Typically, Kellen Moore offenses will lead the NFL in motion. I think it'll really simplify things. So I do think we're going to see whether or not he's a good coach right out the gate. I believe he is. I do think we're going to see him get the best out of whatever quarterback is starting for the Saints. So I think it's a good hire. I think they're pointed in the right direction. Still a ways to go. We'll see if a quarterback of the future is on the current roster. I don't think so, but stranger things have happened. But yeah, I think Kellen Moore is the right guy.
Saints fans, Kellen Moore, player coach, just floating it out there. Nobody else is talking about it. I'm just could be a thing. All right, let's go to.
He's young enough.
I mean, 36. Like, you play 5 more years in the NFL, especially on this team. All right, let's talk about our favorite season-long New Orleans Saints player props. You two are on the same page. So we got about a minute and a half left. Claudia, I'm going to start with you. The one thing we know about the Saints is that, well, we don't know anything, right? But the offensive line should be pretty good. They invested in that offensive line in the offseason in a big way in the draft. Talk to me about Alvin Kamara.
Yeah, man, I looked at this number and I had to check a few different books because it didn't make sense to me. 750 rush yards. Consider the fact that Chris Olave is in the mix now, hopefully, knock on wood, for the full season. That takes the pressure off of Kamara in the passing game. He doesn't have to be the team's leading receiver anymore when it comes to receptions. Even with that role, though, he still ran for 950 yards in just 14 games. He was 6 yards short of 700 rush yards in just 13 2 years ago, and that was the only year outside of his rookie year that he didn't hit this number. I don't know why it's so low, but I'm certainly going over.
Alex, you certainly like the over as well.
I do indeed. Yeah, Alvin Kamara has Kendre Miller backing him up on the depth chart. He is clearly the focal point of this Saints offense. Kellen Moore has gushed about Kamara throughout the offseason. He's going to be the focal point of the Saints rushing attack. They do have an above average offensive line, in my opinion, 4 first-round picks, including 2 top 15 selections in consecutive draft, Kevin Banks Jr. and Fuaga. So I think we're going to see plenty of Alvin Kamara. He can eclipse this in 13 or 14 games, as Claudia mentioned. He went over 900 yards last season, dealt with injuries as well. So this is at least 150 yards too shy, in my opinion.